Howdy folks, I'm Modest Mountain Laurel, meekly making marvelous meals.
I'm Amber.
And here are more marvelous meals for us to make. Are you saying that Mountain Laurel is an edible type of flower, Amber?
I have no idea whether it is edible or not. I'm just saying that it is preparing meals for people to eat.
Just remember folks, everything is edible at least once. Let's get started.
Welcome to Brian's Bad Advice.
Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, I bought and wore my husband's ex-wife's wedding dress. Throw away because I kind of feel sick writing this as much as I wish that it was fake. I'm a 32-year-old female, girlfriend is getting married in August, and the theme of her bachelorette is a tidal bridal. Basically, the weekend at the beach with a lot of cocktails and dressing up in old wedding dresses when we hit the bars. I didn't want to risk my own getting damaged, so I bought one for $100 off of eBay. I thought that it was a steal considering it was a designer, which usually retail for over $3,000. No damage or anything, just some marks under the train, which you would expect. It's also different compared to my own dress, so it would be fun to wear a different style. The seller is listed as dry cleaned, so when it arrived, I tried it on and my husband got home from work and I jokingly danced around the room with him wearing it. My husband, a 40-year-old male, knew the bachelorette plan, so he wasn't surprised to see me wearing a different wedding dress. He grabbed my waist and dipped me back, saying that we would show the dress a good time like our wedding night, and then he kissed me. Then he looked closer at it, and he looked at me weirdly and asked where it came from. When he looked at the box, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. The return label was his ex-wife's childhood home address. I unknowingly had bought the dress that she wore marrying my husband. When he told me, we just stared at each other in stunned silence before I started tearing the thing off of me while he tried to get me to calm down. I genuinely had no idea what her dress looked like. They married really young and divorced for 10 years before we even met. They had no kids and she cheated on him, so there were no photos. They got married before digital photos were really a thing, and she took the wedding album when they divorced. Friends and family don't even have anything with her in them that I know of. We don't even live in the same state, so our paths have never really even crossed. I burst into tears on my husband's shoulder with his ex-wife's wedding dress hanging off of me. I would like to think that I'm a pretty secure person, but no one really envisions walking down the aisle to their soulmate knowing that he stood waiting for a bride once before, eh? I felt very overwhelmed. I took it off and I threw it back in the box. The bachelorette is in a few weeks and it soured my excitement if I'm honest. My husband is massively freaked out that of all the used dresses on the internet that I bought that one, but says that if I want to wear it, go ahead. I look better in it than his ex did anyways. While I appreciate the sentiment, the thought of even looking at it again makes me feel sick. I'm eagerly searching for something different. My husband moved it out of their sight to the basement, but thinks that it's a waste just to throw it out since there's nothing physically wrong with it. I don't care. To me, it's just bad juju. I don't even want to look at it knowing what it once symbolized to him, and I don't know what to do with it either. I don't want to be disrespectful to his past, but I really don't want the thing in my home either. I don't even know why I wrote this. It just feels better getting it off my chest. Alright folks, what do you think?
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence indeed.
Now, as for the dress, that's the one place where I do have practical advice, is that if you're looking to get rid of it, there are thrift shops, but there also are places that do have like old bridal gowns specifically, so you could look online for one of those places if you wanted to send it there so that some other bride can get the dress at a discounted price, because it sounds like it's a very nice dress, a designer dress with minimal damage, so you can feel good about not having it in your house anymore and hopefully going to someone who will enjoy it.
Yeah. Or they could even go to one of those shops with like the used wedding dresses and trade it and say, hey, can I trade this for one of the wedding dresses in there, right? And then that way you're not actually having to re-spend money on things. You might even be able to, find a dress that you like better. Now, an alternate thing is that you could message the eBay seller and be like, hey, can I actually return this? It's a little bit of a weird situation, and explain the situation to them. I'm sure that knowing that, she probably would be like, oh yeah, that's not a problem to return it. maybe.
Yeah, well, given OP's discomfort level, I think that's probably out of the question.
Yeah.
So I think just, either donating it elsewhere or like trying to trade it in for like credits with a boutique or something like that would be a perfectly reasonable way to handle it.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Churst09 says, I understand the ick factor. However, it's very easy to sell it and buy another from a thrift store. None of this to deliberate. It can be a very funny story to tell at the bachelorette party. And Bass to Mouth says, it's actually hilarious. If this happened to my current wife and I, we would have burst out laughing after the initial shock. I actually think it's a really funny story. I can understand her discomfort, but I think that might even just be like a really funny thing to tell them at like during the beach celebration on the wedding dress and whatnot. But I understand, like, not everyone's going to be able to have a sense of humor about that. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for trading plates with my son at a barbecue after the adults refused to let him have a burger? My husband met some guy back last year and became close with him over the last few months. He just invited us down for a barbecue at his house yesterday. We bought the food as well, and we brought enough for 12 burgers, 12 hot dogs, and some extras, like soda, chips, etc. There was roughly 8 adults and probably around 12 kids at the barbecue, not including us our 3 kids, 3, 9, and 8 months. Our oldest of 3 children doesn't like hot dogs. He is grossed out by them. He watched a video on how they were made years ago, and he's refused to touch them since. So, when he went up to the grill, and he was handed a couple of hot dogs, he politely asked for a burger instead. The guy at the grill, my husband's friend, said, Nope, sorry kid, the burgers are for the adults only. I tried explaining that he doesn't like hot dogs, and the guy just kind of shrugged his shoulders. So I asked for a burger right there in front of him and had my son switch plates with me. I did this, and it caused some hang-ups. The other kids were asking why he got a burger when they weren't allowed to. However, no one said anything directly to my son. Well, this guy has been texting my husband today, saying that the next time that he's at a barbecue, I'm not invited, followed by a lull like it was a joke. My husband asked why, and he said that I had caused an uproar over a hot dog, and that this was just how stuff went at their house, and that burgers are for the adults only whenever there's a barbecue at their place, and that they won't be changing their rules to accommodate one lone child. My husband hasn't responded, and now I'm just mad in general because I think the guy is just a ridiculous person. It wasn't like we went in empty-handed. 12 extra burgers is what I personally brought. If my son had wanted one, he's going to have one regardless of what this man says. My husband thinks that I should just drop it, but he's literally not defending me or our son, and I'm just mad. Was I wrong here? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk, and good on OP for standing up for her son. The son has an aversion to hot dogs for legitimate reasons, and he should have bodily autonomy over what he eats. He shouldn't be forced to have hot dogs because this guy has some weird thing where hamburgers are only for adults.
I think that if you're having a barbecue, you should have enough food for everyone and their tastes. This means that if you want to have, if you're going to have a lot of kids, you need to plan accordingly and say, well, if there are this many kids, some of them might have hamburgers. Now, a lot of kids do like hot dogs over hamburgers, right? And there's just some that do enjoy them. Some prefer hamburgers over hot dogs. And I think that this is why you buy a variety of food for cookouts so that everyone can have something. And maybe if you're this concerned, cook up the hot dogs first and then, let any of the kids or whatnot run up and grab the hot dogs if they want them, or cook up the burgers first and say first come, first serve, or any number of things and ways to basically handle this kind of situation. But it should be as equitable as possible.
Certainly. Well, and the audacity, too, given that OP brought 12 hamburgers and they're a family of 5.
Yeah.
There should be enough for all of them to have burgers from what they brought.
Yeah, I think that this is, it just seems like poor planning on their part. Like, if the kids want hamburgers, buy enough hamburgers for everyone.
Yeah, and this whole, I'm not going to make changes to accommodate one kid. Sometimes one person needs accommodations. That doesn't give you the right to not accommodate people because it's just one.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Swimming Jello 2199 says, not the jerk. Some kids don't like hot dogs. They like burgers instead. Who cares? What a control freak. It would be one thing if your son was like, no, I want ice cream, but he wanted food served at the barbecue. A perfectly normal, acceptable choice. People all have their personal preferences. Personally, I don't really like hot dogs or burgers, although I would be able to eat either. I wouldn't go back to their house for get-togethers anyways. I wouldn't want to spend time with them, to be honest, but your husband seems hung up on this guy enough to throw you and your kid under the bus to impress him, so I don't know how that will go. And OP replies, my husband hasn't had any luck making friends for years. I think he's just so hung up on having a friend that he's just being ridiculous. I think that's a bad sign.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband should be able to have your back, and even if it means losing a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and if this is an important friendship, then the other person should acknowledge their wrongness in the situation.
Yep.
Or you and your husband host the barbecues from now on and invite the friend over.
Yeah, but certainly he should have your back, and he should have stood up for the kid too and been like, oh yeah, my son doesn't eat hot dogs, he needs a hamburger.
Yeah. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Husband's Coworker That He Failed as a Parent? For some context, I'm a 28-year-old female and my husband a 30-year-old male, and I live pretty traditionally. I was raised very liberally, but I'm very happy being a stay-at-home wife / soon-to-be stay-at-home mother. We also live in a fairly conservative area, so our lifestyle is pretty common. My husband's coworker Bob also lives traditionally, and his wife Mary is a stay-at-home mom, and they have a 16-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. Bob was raised by a single mom, and as such, was taught to be very independent. Despite this, or maybe because of this, he's very misogynistic. Believes that women belong in the home and men should go to work, etc. The other day, we were hanging out at our home, and I had cooked, so my husband began to do some dishes. Bob immediately chimes in and pokes fun at my husband for doing women's work. We laughed it off, but Bob wouldn't let it go. His wife was clearly uncomfortable after a while. Finally, I asked Bob if he never does the dishes, and he laughed and says, no, why would he? He has a wife and daughter for that. That made me mad, so I asked if he never ate, never made a mess, etc. And if that's what he was teaching his son. He basically confirmed that his son doesn't know how to cook or clean or be independent, but his daughter knows these things. I said a few more things, but concluded by saying that he's a failure as a parent for crippling his son and setting his daughter up to be a brother's caretaker. I said a few more things, but I concluded by saying that he's a failure as a parent for crippling his son and setting his daughter up to be her brother's caretaker. Bob joked that my husband should put me in my place, and in the moment, my husband defended me and agreed with my perspective, but now Bob is a bit chilly, and my husband says that I shouldn't have just called him out like that. Personally, I think Bob can get bent, but maybe my approach was off. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, if your husband didn't want you to take it, he could have tackled it. But someone needed to call him out. He was, insulting you in your own home, the way you lead your life.
Yeah. And their husband.
Yeah. And acting like, everyone has their own beliefs about how to run a household. And what works for one couple may not work for another couple. But that doesn't mean you go over to someone's house as a guest and start, spouting misogynistic nonsense.
Yeah, and deriding them about how they live their lives. I think that his comments were completely inappropriate. He needs to understand that other people have different ways that they run their households. And I think that he is not doing his son any favors here. Cooking and cleaning are basic life skills. Everyone should know how to do those things.
Yep.
What is he going to do until he gets married? Is he just going to eat off of paper plates? That's not a great solution to that problem.
Right, and that's assuming that he'll get married and stay married continuously for his entire life. Lots of things happen. People of all genders should have basic life skills.
Yeah, and he might not even be able to find a partner who shares his willingness to do everything for him. I mean, there are a lot of people nowadays who just aren't going to put up with that. So this may be one of those situations where he's not going to even be able to find a partner who is, down with that kind of lifestyle. So, I don't know. I think that Bob is not being the best in this situation. And I think that their son does need to learn some, how to take care of themselves. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
Where did the dentist go on his vacation?
Oh no, not another medical professional. They surely are going to somewhere like the Bahamas. They aren't going to go to another state to do work. Jovial Bob sign, this is not how the world vacations work. I don't think you understand this.
To the mouth of the Mississippi.
Because apparently the mouth of the Mississippi needs some dental work. And I have Mega Mint. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday, folks. I hope your Monday is off to a great start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it in the form of a haiku.
Kids deserve to choose what to eat for food, and you should respect that choice.
I think that's a great moral. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!